thank you so much. Unbelievable. Look at this crowd. Look at this crowd. Wow. 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 Look at this crowd. Thank you so much. To be here on a Friday morning, and some of you are supposed to be at work, and some of your kids are supposed to be at school. Look how young. So young. You know, in New Hampshire, we won at every single category. Men, women, young, old, highly educated, not so well educated. Everybody loves us. It's a movement. We have a movement going on, folks. We have a movement. And we can't blow the movement. We have to make sure we get a big mandate. We have to go out. Tomorrow, we have to go out and vote. No matter what you're doing, you have to just say, I've got to take 10 minutes. I've got to go out and vote. So important. I've been going around. Yesterday, we did 5 speeches, maybe more. It was almost like I was an automatic. Wind me up, go out and speak. And I'll tell you, the crowds are unbelievable. The people in this country are amazing, amazing. So, you know, the theme, Make America Great Again, right? Make America Great Again. But over the last couple of weeks, I've added to it because I've gotten to know the people. And we're going to have things happen. We're going to have Apple computers start making their computers here. We're going to have Apple start making their iPhones here. We're not going to be over in China and all these other places. We're going to bring our jobs back. Countries have taken advantage of the United States like never, ever, ever before. They're money manipulators. They're currency manipulators. They cut the value of their currencies at points where, for some reason, we never, ever talk retribution. And we're going to get our businesses back. We're going to get our businesses back. Remember I said it. Remember I said it. You read the other day, Carrier left. Beautiful company. I used to buy a lot of Carrier air conditioners. I'm not buying them anymore. They're off the list. But I buy, thousands and thousands of air conditioners a year. I buy televisions. They're all made, everything's made in other countries. I want televisions, South Korea. I want air conditioners. Now it's going to be Mexico for air conditioners, okay? Not going to happen. So Carrier announced 1,400 jobs. They're moving to Mexico. You saw that, right? So I said to myself, well, that's a problem. And I thought it was very sad. Just like all these cell phones that are up in the air, they're taking like the video of the man, I guess the boss, saying, we're closing up, we're moving to Mexico, bye-bye, your jobs are gone. These are people that have worked there for years. And I said to myself, that is terrible. And how do you do it? Now, free trader. And we want to be idealistic. And idealistic is free trade, everyone. But China doesn't free trade with us, by the way, just so you know. Boeing is building massive plants in China. Be careful. Be careful. You have beautiful plant in South Carolina. You have a beautiful plant. Be careful, because when they cut the value of their currency in 2 years after their plants are built, and you find out you're losing your business, not going to happen if Trump is president, that I can tell you. But be careful. Be careful. Boeing is, when they tell you they can make them cheaper over in China because they're playing the monetary manipulation game, not going to happen with me. How they get away with this is unbelievable. They devalued their currency about 4 months ago, more than they have in over 20 years in one shot. And nobody thought they were going to devalue it more. And not only did they do more, but they gave it the biggest devaluation. So I just say, you better be careful, because these guys are master chess players with the monetary system. Better than anything I've ever seen. And we're not going to let it take place. We have tremendous power over these countries. We have tremendous power over China, as an example. And we'll get along with China. I have tenants from China. I have the biggest bank in the world as my tenant in one of my buildings in Manhattan. The biggest in the world, by far. They have 400 million customers. Can you believe this one? They're a tenant. I sell condos to the Chinese. I deal with the Chinese government. I made one of my best deals with the Chinese. I own a big chunk of the Bank of America building in San Francisco. 1290 Avenue of the Americas, one of the biggest office buildings in New York, in Manhattan. I deal with the Chinese. The Chinese are great. They're fine. I'm not angry at the Chinese. I'm angry at our leaders for being so incompetent and not know how to deal with them. So I believe in free trade, okay? Because I hear these people go, Donald Trump is not a true conservative. Well, a true conservative would never say what I'm about to say. I believe in free trade, but it's got to be fair trade. It's got to be smart trade. We can't lose $505 billion a year like we do. Think of it. We have a trade deficit with China, $505 billion. That's not free trade. That's stupid trade, okay? That's stupid trade. All right? So they can say, I'm not a true conservative. I watched Jeb Bush. He is not a true conservative. These people, where do they come from? Where do they come from? These people are not going to get you to the promised land, that I can tell you. They're politicians. And every one of the people on stage with me, we're down now to 6. Everyone on stage, we started at 17, we're now down to 6. Every single person on stage with me, they're all controlled by industries, by companies, by lobbyists, and by special interests. Remember that. And when I want to negotiate with the drug companies, because we can cut $200 to $300 million off the price of drugs. The United States, think of it, $200 to $300 billion. Think of it. We're going to cut. Now, some of these guys are controlled by the drug companies and the lobby. They have lobbyists. They have special interests. They are given millions and millions of dollars, millions. I mean, some of them have $160 million. I'm self-funding my campaign. I don't take the money. I don't take the money. And I do the right thing. But these guys are taking money from the pharmaceutical companies. So I found this out a few weeks ago. A friend of mine who's a doctor, very successful guy, although now he wants to retire, he said, Obamacare has destroyed his business. He said, Donald, I have more accountants than I have nurses working for me. It's so complicated. It's horrible. He wants to be a doctor. He said it's like the worst thing I've ever been involved in. By the way, we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. That I can tell you. 100%. 100%. So many lies. Remember, keep your plan. You'll keep your doctor. Everything was a lie. 28 times Obama lied. You know, you get sued for fraud for that stuff. But I don't know. Nobody ever sued him. The Republicans never sue him for fraud. It's a fraud. What he said's a fraud. Just like one of the people I'm running against. You talk about people that lie. This is Ted Cruz. This is the biggest liar I've ever seen. I'll tell you what was good. Even Marco Rubio said he's a liar. And when a politician says another politician's a liar, I never heard that before. I felt so good. And then he doctored up a picture last night of Marco Rubio. I'm not sick enough for Marco Rubio, but I looked at this picture. Marco Rubio looked like he was about 4'2" tall. He was shaking hands with Obama. It never took place. This guy, Ted Cruz, is really a liar. I'll tell you what. I never saw anything like it. What he did to Ben Carson in Iowa was horrible. Ben Carson is out of the race, everyone. He's quit. He's out of the race. He's gone home. He's gone. Vote for Ted Cruz. A total fraud. And then he writes voter violation form. It looks like it just came out of the IRS. It did. It looked like an official government document. Voter violation. And then it has voter violation, and the way you get rid of the violation is to vote for Ted Cruz. And these people are saying, oh, I got to vote for Ted Cruz, because they don't know. It's unbelievable. So I'll tell you what I've learned. Politicians are really dishonest. The difference is, at least I can call them out because we have a big voice, so at least I can call them out. But let me just tell you, when it all started, on June 16th, I came down the escalator. I never saw so many photographers. I mean, I always say it looked like the Academy Awards. I've never seen anything like it. And this isn't easy. I mean, running for president, it takes guts, let me tell you. Especially, I've never done this stuff before. It takes guts. It takes guts. And I know the system, and I was really an establishment guy on June 15th, and on June 16th, I was probably the world's worst establishment person. They said, what happened to Donald? He's running. We don't want him to run. He's not going to take any of our money. We're not going to be able to control him. We're not going to be able to keep our drugs from being bid. So my doctor. So the guy comes in. He says, you know, Donald, the United States is the largest drug purchaser in the world. Makes sense. With Medicare and Social Security, which, by the way, we're leaving alone. We're not cutting your Social Security, folks, just to put it in. And he said, and you know that they don't bid the drug prices, that people pay X dollars at the drugstore. The United States for the same drug pays pretty close to that price. I said, you got to be kidding. He said, Don, could you explain to me why? Now, first it took me about 30 seconds to get over the shock. But then after that, I said, very simple, because all these guys are paid off. Paid off. They're politicians. I mean, Woody Johnson of Johnson & Johnson is the head of campaign finance for Bush, for Jeb. No, he's the head of campaign finance for Jeb Bush. So what do you think Jeb Bush would do? Do you think he'd say, oh, we've got to come down hard on the drug companies? I don't think so. The other guy is controlled by the oil companies. You look at, he's controlled by the oil companies, okay? And it's terrible. So he's got oil control. Every one of them is controlled by big groups of people, all right? But Cruz is totally controlled by the oil companies. Take a look at who's giving him money. You know, one thing good about this system, it's reasonably transparent, although there are ways that people can't find out. There are ways you can do it where nobody really knows. But take a look at who's giving Ted Cruz the money. And then he tries to act like he's independent. Oh, I'm so independent. He's the least independent maybe up there. There's no independence. He tells people that I'm going to help you with Wall Street. Big, bad Wall Street. It's terrible what they're doing. And yet he borrowed $1 million with a personal guarantee at a low interest rate, a rate that you would be very proud to pay. He's a phony. But he tells everybody, I'm going to protect you. You know, he's Robin Hood. So then on his filing, and he's got like a 2-page filing. I have 100-page, almost 100 pages. He's got like this little tiny filing. He forgets to mention that he's borrowed money from Citibank, Goldman Sachs, and the rate of interest is like Rockefeller in his prime would have to pay, okay? So low. He forgot. And he didn't put it down on the form. He never put it down on the form that he borrowed $1 million. And in fact, he said he's going to liquefy, he's going to sell stuff because he doesn't want to borrow from Wall Street. But he borrowed from Wall Street. He lied. This guy, I never saw a guy lie like this. So he went out and he borrowed $1 million to the federal government, and missing from the papers was the fact that he had loans from 2 major banks, okay? And then he talks about how he's going to get, well, Goldman Sachs, I know the guys at Goldman Sachs, they have total control over him. Just like they have total control over Hillary Clinton. They have total. But they have no control. They have no control over Donald Trump. I don't want their money. I don't need their money. They have no control. So, thank you. Thank you. I love you too. Look at this guy. Thank you, man. Thank you. So what happens, that's right, we got to get to work. That's the truth. I want to get this thing over with. I'm so anxious to negotiate. You know, we can knock trillions of dollars. There's so much waste, fraud, abuse in our government. You look at the VA, the Veterans Administration. It's a fraudulent enterprise. You look at what happened in Phoenix at the Veterans Administration. It's one of the great frauds I've ever seen. These people are living that run it. They're stealing money like I've never seen anything. It's as bad as anybody, and everybody knows it. I guess you've read about it. But it's not only Phoenix, it's all over. We're going to get to work. I cannot look. It says, I'm ready to work on wall. Okay, on the wall. Oh, on the wall. We're going to build the wall. We're going to build the wall. Look at this guy. Wow, we're going to build the wall. Wow, that's so beautiful. I thought he said, I'm ready to get to work on wall. I thought he was talking about Wall Street, and that's okay too. Wall Street's a good place. But he goes, I'm ready to work on the wall. We're going to build the wall. Are you ready? Are you ready? Who is going to pay for the wall? Who? So, you know, Mexico, we had a little thing yesterday. The Pope was great. He made a beautiful statement this morning. They had him convinced that illegal immigration is like a wonderful thing. Not wonderful for us. It's wonderful for Mexico. It's not wonderful. And just so you understand, I have a very good relationship with Mexico. I have a phenomenal relationship with Hispanics. We're going very soon to Nevada. After this, we go to Nevada, then we have the SEC. A poll just came out in Nevada. I'm leading with Hispanics. They know I'm going to bring jobs back from China, from all over the place. They get it. They get it. But one of your ex-presidents of Mexico, I believe it was Calderon, said, he gave a news conference. He said, Trump, we will not pay for the wall. So the news, those guys, one of them standing right back there, said to me, President Calderon said you will not pay, that they will not pay for the wall. May I have your response? You know what I said? We're going to make the wall now 10 feet taller. 10 feet taller. Believe me. "10 feet taller. And every time they protest, it's going to go up a little bit higher." But these politicians, they come over to me after one of the events. I said, yep, we're going to build a wall, and Mexico's going to pay for the wall. First they say, oh, you can't build a wall. China, 2,000 years ago, built a wall that's 13,000 miles long, and they didn't have Caterpillar tractors. We do. And we only want to use John Deere and Caterpillar. We don't want to use Komatsu, right? We don't want to use Komatsu. We're going to use our tractors. So our wall, it's 2,000 miles, but we only need 1,000 because you have a lot of natural barriers. So these politicians come up, a couple of them. They said, you really don't think you're going to build a wall, do you? I said, so easy. So easy. We go with the precast systems right up top. It'll be so beautiful, so tall. See the ceiling? That's pretty high ceiling, but that ceiling's probably peanuts. I think I can get it higher than it. That's a pretty high. Usually I look up and the ceiling's like 10 feet. I'm saying, well, that's a pretty high sucker, but I'll tell you what, we'll go higher than that. Let's put it this way. We'll go so high that if they get up there, they're not going to come down. They're going to say, I'm not coming down. And by the way, we're going to have a door in the wall. It's going to be a big, beautiful door. And you know what's going to, people are going to come into our country, but they're going to come in legally. They're going to come in legally. So these politicians come up to me, and they're nice people. A lot of them are nice. A couple of them I don't like at all, actually, but a lot of them are nice. And they come up to me, and they say, you really can't build a wall. Yes, you can. And I explain it to them, and they say, oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Then they come up, and they say, you really can't get Mexico to pay for that wall, can you? I say, so easy. They say, there's no way. And then they go on television, there's no way. It's tough to negotiate with people when you have your own side saying you can't do it, right? But this is still an easy negotiation. So we have this massive trade deficit with Mexico. We give tremendous subsidy in many different forms to Mexico. You know why? Because we're led by stupid people. That's why we do it. Okay? We give massive subsidy to Mexico. The wall is going to cost $10 to $12 billion. That's peanuts. Peanuts compared to the deficit, which is $58 billion a year, by the way. $58 billion a year. The wall's going to cost probably, if I do it Rolls-Royce, if I call it Trump. Because if I call it Trump, we're going to have to do a really nice wall, right? I'm not going to call it Trump. I'm not going to call it Trump. But I have to make it nice because someday somebody will say, we're going to call it the Trump wall because, boy, does it work good and does it look beautiful. So we're going to build a beautiful wall. But Mexico's going to pay for it, folks. And it's so easy. It's so easy. You know, all of these countries like China could solve our North Korea problem if we had smart people at the head of our government. Because China has taken from us so much money, so many jobs. China has rebuilt itself with what they've taken out of the United States. Okay, they've rebuilt themselves. I call it the greatest theft in the history of the world, what China has taken. And we owe them $1.7 trillion. We owe them money. Can you imagine? They took our jobs. They took our base. They took our manufacturing like nobody's ever. They took our money. And again, I don't dislike China. I wish our people could deal with them. I have Carl Icahn endorse me, one of the smartest guys, business guys. We have the smartest business people in the world. Better than the Chinese, by the way. We have the smartest business. We don't use them. We use political hacks to negotiate multi-billion and even trillion-dollar deals. People that have no clue. We use Carolyn Kennedy in Japan as our chief negotiator. She's the ambassador to Japan. She didn't even want the job. She just went to looking for... did you ever see that 60 Minutes? They say, how did you get the job? And they did a profile on her, like they did Putin and Trump and Carolyn Kennedy. And they go, she walks in, how did you get the job? Well, I went to the White House and I asked them for a job because I had nothing to do. I'm telling you, if you check the tape, it's going to be pretty close. I mean, a little different, but pretty close. And they said, what do you mean you have nothing to do? I just have nothing to do. Oh, would you like to be the ambassador to Japan? She goes, really? And I think she's a nice person because my daughter Ivanka likes her. So when my daughter Ivanka likes her, I like her, okay? I just don't want her negotiating. I want one of the killers negotiating for us. Is that okay? You know, I know the best. I know the best. I know the worst. I know the ones that are overrated. I know the ones you never heard of that are better than all of them. We will have the smartest people negotiating our deals. You know, we don't win anymore. We don't win on trade. We don't win in the military. ISIS, we can't beat ISIS. Can you imagine telling General George Patton that we can't beat ISIS? He would start laughing at you and then smack you in the face. It's true. And in modern day, he'd be immediately thrown out of the services because he was not nice. Because he wasn't politically correct. He was a rough guy. We need rough, but we need smart. Smart is first, rough is second. If you can get rough, you got to get the combination. You can't have rough and not smart, okay? You know, over the years, I've dealt with a lot of rough guys, really rough, but they're not smart. They're easy. You need the combination. And we have them. West Point, Annapolis, Air Force Academy. We have people that will be great. Everything today is political correctness. Seriously, George Patton was one of the roughest guys. He would talk rough to his men. His men, and in those days it was all men, excuse me ladies, but it was all men in that case. But his people, but his men would die for him. They would die for him. They would fight for him no matter what he asked. They loved him. He was a rough guy. We don't have that anymore. We need the right people. I watch generals being interviewed all the time. And I don't want my generals being interviewed. I want to be unpredictable. You know, they'll say one little half sentence. It's true. Like the press oftentimes, what would you do about ISIS? Thank you, man. Oh, that's nice. Are they friends or not? Out. Get them out. Get them out. Get them out of here. Come on, Keith. Go. Get them out. Get them out. You know, it's really amazing. You know, you have a couple of guys that are going to get a little publicity for themselves. All we're looking for is the same thing. We want security. We want to take care of our vets. We want to have good jobs. We want to have a nice home or house or apartment. We want to have a safe family. We're all looking for the same thing. Where do these people come from? Where do they come from? Really, it's so sad. It's so sad. It's so sad. Don't hurt them. Don't hurt them. Don't hurt them, but get them out. So sad. Don't hurt them. You know, I've gone through this, and here's the good thing about the protesters. They show how big the crowd is. Because these guys never show the crowd unless they have a protester. Look at the size of this crowd. They never show the crowd. Sometimes I develop my own protesters because it's the only way they'll turn the cameras and show the crowd. But it is true. You know, when you think, it's basic things. Whether you're Democrat, whether you're liberal, conservative, we want the same things. We want to have safety. We want to pay low taxes. We want to be left alone. We want to have a good family. We want education. We don't want Common Core, horrible stuff. You know, and honestly, sometimes I think I could take a couple of these young kids, they're usually kids, sit down with them for 5 minutes. I think I'd convince them But who knows? I mean, it's just incredible. And the sad part is we have thousands of people here today, and yet he'll end up getting, because he holds up a picture of a potato. It's really, and that's part of the beauty. The people are so smart. And when I won New Hampshire, we won with the smart ones. We won with everything. But the people are so smart. They get it. They get it. So I want to go back, though, to trade for a second. Because when I started, it was about trade and the border. And it hit a note. Then we had the Paris attack, which was horrible. 130 people killed. We're going to save our Second Amendment, folks. By the way, 100%. 100%. Then you had the attack in California with the 14 people with the radicalized woman who probably radicalized the young guy. And they get married and they kill people that they worked with. 14 people, they killed them. They threw a wedding party for these two. And they walk in and they shot them like just disgusting. Disgusting. When I see that, it's disgusting. It tells you there's something going on. And by the way, when I said ban, temporary ban, I mean temporary ban. This country cannot afford. It cannot afford to do what they want to do. We have so many problems. They want to let thousands and thousands and thousands of the Syrian migration come into the country. We have no idea who they are. We have no idea where they come from. We have no idea. There's no paperwork. There's no anything. You see what's happening in Germany. You see what's happening in Sweden, of all places. I have friends that are from Germany. 3 years ago, they're saying it's the greatest country in the world. We love Germany. They called me up 2 days ago. They say, we're leaving Germany. They're leaving. They're going to another country. They want to get out of Germany. What she has done to that country is disgraceful. And we're not going to have it happen to our country. We're not going to have it happen. So, I did this, and it was about trade and border, and everybody loved what I said on the border, and they loved what I said on the wall, and the wall's going to happen, and the border's going to be strong, and people are going to come in legally, and all of that, and we're going to get great trade deals because we're going to use the smartest people in the world, and they all want it. They're all calling me. Carl endorsed me, Carl Icahn, but others endorse me. They all want to come in. They all want a piece. They don't want any money. To them, it's like a chess game. They want to do it because they want to do it. They don't want fees. They don't want anything. The other guys want money. These guys don't. They're rich people. The reason they're rich is because they're so good at this stuff. They know it so well. They call me. They say, can you believe what China's getting away with? Can you believe what Vietnam, that's a new one, by the way, Vietnam is getting away with? They say, can you believe what Japan is getting away with? They send cars by the millions. They come off the biggest ships I've ever seen in Los Angeles by the millions. We send them like nothing. And if we send them something, they don't want it, they send it back. We send them wheat. We send them wheat. They send us cars that cost $200,000 each. We send them wheat. And then they don't want the wheat, they send it back. Because their farmers don't want it. It's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, honestly. And we have all the cards. We have all the cards. All you have to do is say, look, you're not treating us right. We have to stabilize. We have to equalize. They send us. We have to send them. It's got to be relatively an equal amount. We're going to get along fine with them. You know what? The funny thing is, we are taken advantage of by every country in the world. Every country beats us. We don't win at anything. Every country beats us at trade. And yet they all hate us. You know why they hate us? Because they don't respect us. They think we're stupid people. They think because our leaders are stupid, we're all stupid. We're not stupid. That's why we have all these people in these rooms. So it's going to change. And I'll tell you about Carrier again. I'll finish the story about Carrier. So they moved to Mexico, right? I would call, meaning, I guess it's not, a lot of people say, you have to act, you have tremendous talent. Somebody said, he's a tremendous, you know, Jeb Bush said, Donald Trump is a gifted politician. My wife said, I thought he was your enemy. Why is he saying that? I said, because he's stupid. What can I tell you? No, he calls me a gifted politician. I never thought of myself. He's a highly gifted politician. Okay. So I'm only kidding, Jeb. I didn't mean that. You're a very nice man. But look, but I did say that to her. She said, why is he saying that? If I'm fighting somebody, I'm not going to say they're gifted at anything. You know, Putin said Donald Trump is a genius. Now, I don't know Putin at all, okay? I never met him. We were on 60 Minutes together, but we were second people. We got very good ratings, so I was very happy about it. But Donald, he just said it. Donald Trump is a genius and he's going to be the leader of the party and he's going to this. He said nice things. So these people I'm running against, they said, we want you to disavow Putin's statement. I said, why would I disavow a statement where a guy's calling me a genius? What am I? And by the way, he's not going to be able to con me, but wouldn't it be nice if we actually got along with Russia and some other countries? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be good? People don't know I'm a unifier. Barack Obama, African American. If I were African American, I would be so angry at him. African American youth has an almost 60% unemployment rate. African American people that are 25, primetime age, 25 to 40, have such a high unemployment rate, you wouldn't believe it. It's gone up and it's gotten worse since he's been president. Now, he's African American. If I were African American, I wouldn't like him very much. I will do more for the African American people than Barack Obama has ever done. I'll do more in 1 year. I will do more for the African American people in 1 year than Barack Obama has done in his 7 years, soon to be 8 years. And then, by the way, he's out, and thank goodness, okay? So, and by the way, we're going to have a tremendous crossover vote. You watch. A poll just came out where I beat Hillary and Bernie very easily. USA Today. I beat both of them. But you know what? We're going to have a tremendous crossover. People have no idea. And the other thing I have that these other guys don't have, they always talk about the 6 states. We have Ohio and Pennsylvania and different states. You have to win if you don't win. Because the Republicans have a structural disadvantage. You understand that. Tremendous disadvantage in an election, for president. In a one-on-one election for president, tremendous. But I'm different. Because I have a chance to win New York. Can you imagine? If you win New York, New York is massive. If you win New York, it's over. If you win New York, it's over. I'll win New Jersey. You know that. I'll win New Jersey. But I'll win Michigan. Nobody else is going to win Michigan. Michigan loves me. I'm always talking about cars. Why wouldn't they? I go to Michigan. I have the biggest crowds of anybody that they've ever seen. We'll win Michigan. That's not even a state that the Republicans talk about. They don't even talk about. They don't talk about New York. Can you imagine if you pick up the delegates, you pick up New York, you're talking about the election's over. I'll tell you what else I'm going to do. I'm going to do so well with the African Americans. I'm going to do great with them because they get it. They're smart. They know jobs are going to come in. I'm bringing the jobs back. The Hispanics. So they did a poll recently and it said Trump gets 25% of the African American vote. And one of the pundits, one of these geniuses back here said, because a Republican usually gets 4 or 5%. They said Trump would get 25% in this poll. I don't know who did the poll. They did a poll. It said 25%. The pundit said, do you know that if Trump got 25% of the African American vote, the election's over. You might as well not even have it. Okay? And I'll get it. And I'm going to get all the workers, and I'm going to get the union and the non-union guys. I'll tell you, the Teamsters are having a revolution. The Teamsters love Trump. The Teamsters are having a revolution because they don't want to listen to their leaders who automatically go Democrat. And their leader's actually Hoffa. He said the other day, he said, I got to do something here. This is a problem. If I go with Hillary, this is a problem. I've got to at least talk to Trump because all the workers want Trump, okay? So whether you're union or not, they want Trump, and they will have a problem. You watch. They endorse a guy like Bernie who wants to charge you 95% tax. They endorse Hillary where it's going to be, look, the country's going to go down the tubes with Hillary. If she's allowed to run, I don't know. I cannot imagine that she's going to, after what she did, that she's going to be allowed to run. But I think the Democrats are protecting her. All right, now I go back. I have like this chess mind. So now I go back to Carrier. Right? We've covered China. We've covered Vietnam. We've covered Japan. I started with, somebody wrote a very nice story. They said he's got this mind, it's like a trap. He goes here and there and there and there and there. And then he goes back and he starts with, I remember it all. It's really good. It's really good. Because it's a web. You know what I call? I call it the web. It's a web. And it all relates. Everything relates that we're talking about, okay? Right? Look, the woman said, you probably have a very high IQ. That's why you say that. It's a web. So now I go back to where it all began. So Carrier, they move to Mexico. This guy, pretty harsh, said, it's over. You're out of jobs. People working there many, many years. You're out of jobs. Now they'll end up working as part-time jobs because for Obamacare, they only want to hire part-time people. You know that. A lot of part-timers that never had a part-time job in their life, they're now working part-time because they want to keep it under the number so they don't have to hit with and mess with Obamacare because it's such a disaster. So here's what I do with Carrier. Not overly conservative, but very smart, okay? I would say, folks, here's what you do. You are going to pay and you are going to make a lot of money in Mexico. And I congratulate you on your move. I think it's a wonderful thing. Enjoy Mexico. Enjoy everything about it. Good luck. But here's the story. Every air conditioner that you make and every air conditioner that you send across the border to our country, we're going to charge you a 35% tax. Okay? And that tax is going to be used to reduce our debt and bring up our budget and balance our budget. But we're going to charge you a 35% tax. And that's the way it is. Now, I hope your numbers still work, but I doubt they do. So I'm going to get called by lobbyists. But I know a lot of the lobbyists, but I don't care about them. I've used them over the years. Some are very talented. I have lobbyists where I can say, go into that senator and get his vote changed right now. Yes, Mr. Trump. He'll call me up. All done, sir. All done. You know why? Because he raises millions of dollars for the guy. So that's bad for the country, but it's good for the company, good for the lobbyists. They make a fortune. These guys make a fortune. They totally control the people I'm on stage with. So now I'll get a call and they'll say, Mr. Trump, you can't do that to Carrier. I said, like hell I can't. And they'll say, President Trump, please, please change your decision. It's so terrible. You're setting a terrible precedent. Mr. Trump, President Trump, this is not free trade. I said, no, it's smart trade, okay? And here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. As sure as you're standing there, we say no, and we say no. It's over. Carrier will announce they've decided not to leave the United States, okay? That's what's going to happen. And they'll build a new plant or they'll fix up their old plant and they'll keep the people that have been so great for years. And that's what's going to happen. Same thing with Ford. Ford, I've been talking about Ford now for years, for 2 years. $2.5 billion plant in Mexico. I thought I shamed them that they'd never do it again. But you need to be president to really do it properly. So Ford announces they're going to build a $2.5 billion plant in Mexico. Do you know what a $2.5 billion plant is? You know how big that is? That's like a one-story building. That's a building that goes forever. They're going to make cars, trucks, and parts. Okay? And I say, how does that help us? They're closing up plants in Michigan and other places. They're going to open up this massive plant in Mexico. And then yesterday I read in one of the newspapers, I won't say the Wall Street Journal because I think it's one of the worst newspapers I've ever read. Such a pile of garbage. Every bad poll I get is from the Wall Street Journal. You know? Every time they do a poll, I have a lousy poll. Then I get great polls from everyone else. But every poll, so I don't believe in the Wall Street. I'm not a believer in the Wall Street Journal. I think it's a piece of garbage. It's going to lose a fortune anyway. Don't worry. It'll be out of business like all the rest of them very soon. But let me just tell you. I did read this one in the Wall Street Journal, however, I must be honest. And basically it said Ford is doubling down. That Ford opened the $2.5 billion plant. And now they're doubling down. They're going to open up tremendous additional car. Mexico is going to become the car capital of the world because we let that happen. And here's what I tell Ford. And I say this 100 times over. They call up Hillary. She knows it's a bad deal for the United States. What's good about it? They close up their factories. They close up their plants in Michigan and other states. They build this massive plant in Mexico. They make their cars in Mexico with Mexican labor. And they sell them to us with no tax. How do we benefit, folks? How? In a million years, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, the best school in the world, business school in the world. I think most people do. You got to be really smart to get in, okay? Really. Like the hardest school, one of the hardest schools. You got to be so smart. Okay. So, but you don't have to go to Wharton. You can go to high school. You don't have to go to high school. You don't even have to go to high school. it doesn't help us. So they're going to build cars, trucks, and parts, and they're going to sell them to the United States. So here's what Hillary does. Hillary says, that deal's horrible. I mean, she's not a stupid person. She says, that deal is horrible. But then she'll be hit up with her donors and her lobbyists and her special interests, and they'll say, look, you can't do that. This guy gave you $3.5 million, Hillary. You can't do that. How disloyal is that? Within 2 seconds, she'll say, all right, let it go. Me, no way. I don't get money. Remember one thing. Remember that I'm self-funding. Remember, I don't think I get credit for that. It's such a big deal. I think I'm up to like $25 million already. I thought I was doing it on the cheap. I'm still into this thing now, 25. I'll be up a lot more. And I start spending money because I felt guilty not spending any money. All these guys, Jeb has spent $22 million on commercials against me. People said, why do I dislike Jeb? Because he spends money on commercials. If he didn't spend money on commercials, I'd leave him alone. If he was smart, he'd stop. I mean, it's much better. But they spend money. But it's not their money. It's all special interest money. You saw that at the debate the other day, right? The debate. These guys walk in. They're nowhere. Cruz walks in. The oil industry starts screaming, we love you. You're great. We love you. Then he pretends like, oh, I have nothing to do with the oil industry. I have nothing to do with the banking industry because I refuse to put it down on my form, which is probably illegal, by the way, but we won't say that. So they're all controlled. They stand up. I mean, I walk in. I have no donors. I have no special interest. The room is like I had my wife and my kids clapping for me. It was very lonely. It was very lonely. I mean, the Republican National Committee should be ashamed of themselves for giving those tickets out to all these special interests and donors. It's a disgrace. But anyway, and I've said to myself, by the way, it's not really worth it because I don't know. When people go into the voting booth, they're not saying, we're voting for Trump because he didn't take any money from. I don't know if I get my money's worth on this one. I'll be honest with you, folks. I can tell you I'll have a tremendous amount of money. And what I said is true. I started spending a lot of money over the last few weeks because, number one, I didn't want to take a chance, right? You know what I mean? I don't want to be too cute. Oh, I'm so smart. I don't have to spend money. I mean, in New Hampshire, I spent $3 million. And Bush spent $44 million. I was first by a landslide. I won by over 20 points. We had 36. I won by 20 points. I was first in a landslide. By the way, that's 20 points over number 2. That's like 35 points over Bush. But I was first in a landslide, and he's at the bottom of the pack, right? Wouldn't it be nice if our country could do that? If our country could spend less and be number 1, wouldn't that be nice? We can do that. We can do that. So with Ford, I do a very similar thing. I mean, no great formula. Just like I would have done with the Iran deal. I would have said, folks, give us back our hostages, or that's it. I would have walked out of the room. I would have doubled the sanctions. They would have called within 24 hours. We have our hostages. Then I would have negotiated further. I would have said, we're not going to give you the $150 billion because we just don't have the money. We don't have the money. We owe $19 trillion. I want to give it to you. You're wonderful people. We love you very much. I'm not giving you the $150 billion. We don't have it. We're a debtor nation. And they'll get angry and, rant and rave. They're great negotiators, the Persians, but I'll win. Believe me, I'll win. And that's going to be the end of that. And then we start negotiating. So now we got our hostages. We keep our $150 billion. You know what they're doing with $150 billion, by the way? They're buying Airbus, not Boeing. They're buying all sorts of stuff from Europe. They're buying Russian missiles, whoever allowed them to do missiles. And they're using the rest of the money for terror. You saw that, where they went to Kerry and they said, do you know they're using money for terror? Well, we expected that, yes. Can you believe? This is the guy that made the deal. So with the Ford deal, similar to the Carrier deal, I'd say, got to move. I'm not going to let you do it. And I'll be hit with everybody. I'll say, nope. Every time you sell a lousy truck, every time you see how I've cleaned up my act, I don't use bad language anymore. I won't. Because I don't even have to use bad words and I get in trouble. Do you know that I did one a week ago in New Hampshire, where I said, and I just like, I didn't say anything. In other words, I refused to say the word. And these guys bleeped it on television, and everybody thought I said the word. And they said, his language is terrible. I reckon. I never said the word. I went like, but on television they bleeped it. So they went bleep. So everybody thought I said the word. So here's the story. So with Ford, I'd say you're going to pay a tremendous tax if you go to Mexico. Tremendous. Because it doesn't help us. At least this way we'll get a lot of money in tax. It doesn't help us. And you can do whatever you want. I guarantee you, folks, I guarantee you, they don't move to Mexico. They took a plant was supposed to go, a great place, a place I love. They treat me so great in Tennessee. They were going to build a massive auto plant, right? I love Tennessee. I love Tennessee. No, they treat me great. We're going to do great in Tennessee. We're going to do great in Georgia, in Tennessee, in Texas. We're going to do great everywhere. But look, they took a plant in Tennessee that was practically done, going to be built by a big foreign company. It was all set to be announced. It was all set. And they moved to Mexico at the last moment. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. We're no longer going to be the stupid people, okay? We're no longer going to be. We're going to be the really smart people that win. We're going to start winning again, folks. We're going to knock out ISIS. I said don't go to Iraq, and I said it strongly, and I said it loud, by the way. You know, they like to say now, oh, well, maybe he didn't say. I was with Howard Stern, who happens to be a good guy, by the way. I was with Howard Stern before the war, like many months before. And the first guy ever asked me about Iraq was Howard Stern. I said, well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. Then I started looking at it. Before the war started, I was against that war. You know, you have losers like this Karl Rove guy. This guy's a loser. What a loser. He spends all this money on races. He loses all of them. We have such losers in this Republican Party. We've got to go to a different system, folks. You're never going to have a president. I'm telling you that right now. You're never going to have a president. But listen, I will guarantee you that Ford comes back. I will guarantee you that many of these companies come back. We have killed ourselves with trade deals. But what's happened is, after the catastrophe in Paris, where you're not allowed to have a gun, they have the toughest gun laws in the world in France and in Paris. And these animals walked in and they killed 130 people. Some people are gravely injured. After that, it all changed. Everybody liked me the best because they said, he's the toughest on the border. Hey, I have Sarah Palin's total endorsement. I have Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I mean, how tough is Sheriff Joe? You know, if Sheriff Joe from Arizona endorses you, you're the toughest on the border. Is that right? Sheriff Joe. He said there's nobody like Trump. Okay. But we have all of this. But what's happened is after Paris took place, and then I started being different because I started talking about big security. I started talking about military. I'm good at military. I'm going to be people are going to be surprised. We're going to make our military so big, so strong, so powerful. Nobody is ever going to mess with us, folks. Nobody. And we're going to get the right equipment. You know, our military buys equipment they don't want because the companies that make certain equipment that they don't want are politically active and they're politically good. How often you hear about a plane that they don't want but they're ordering them, and the plane that they do want they're not ordering even though it's cheaper and better? And those days are gone because I don't give a damn what they want. I want to get the right stuff. So I just want to finish up. So what's happened is I focus differently. And CNN does a poll. And the poll is who's best on the military? Trump by many times. I don't mean by like 2 percentage points. Trump is up in the 60s and 70s. Who's best on ISIS? It's Trump. Who's best on the border? It's Trump. Who's best on the economy? Is Trump. No, Trump. Who's best on jobs? It's Trump. All of this. The only thing I'm a little weak on is my personality. But who the hell cares? I didn't win the personality contest. Who cares? It's no longer about, and I actually think I'm the nicest person of the group, believe me. I love these people. I love you, and I'm not going to let you down. I'm not going to let you down. You know, I won't use his name, but a great reporter from CBS was very nice this morning. He said, you know, Mr. Trump, I've never seen anything like this. I've been covering this stuff for 25 years. I've never seen anything like this. He said, but don't you have a lot of pressure? These people were here 6 hours ago to line up, right? 6 hours ago. They were here 6 hours. Isn't this a lot of pressure? Supposing you let them down. I said, you're right, it's pressure, and I'm not going to let them down. I'm not going to let you down. I'm not letting you down. So Folks, we're going to start winning again. We're going to win with our military. And we're not going to use it very much, by the way. By having a powerful military, it's the cheapest thing we can do. We're not going to have to use it. Nobody's going to play with us. We're going to be so powerful. And it's a different military. Today, it's not just about the soldiers. We have the great minds. We have the great weaponry. We have stuff that nobody else can have. So we are going to have a great military. Hopefully, we're not going to have to use, we are going to knock ISIS out, but hopefully we're not going to have to use our military, certainly very much. We're going to take care of our vets. We're going to take care of education. We're going to take care of health care. We're going to take care of the wall and the border. We're going to take care of it. We are going to be a great country again. And I'll tell you something. You're going to remember this day. Tomorrow, you have to go out and vote. Have to go out and vote. You're going to remember this day in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You're going to say, I attended a meeting and it was a great meeting. And that was the point at which our nation became great again. And you're going to be so proud of me and I'm going to be so proud of you. And I love you all and we're going to start winning, winning, winning again. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.